Welcome to FHIR in the Cloud. My name is Regilo Souza, and the guy on top of me is Tyson. He is the senior cloud engineer and the product owner here in InterSystems, and we are part of the cloud dev team. We are going to be talking in this session about FHIR and transformation to FHIR, how to use FHIR, and we hope that you benefit from understanding what's the future of the interoperability and learning where to start in this journey. To discuss about FHIR, we have to go back in time about 20 years, where HL7 v2 is the completely reign in the land. And a little bit further, we are going to talk about HL7 v3, but the main point here is that these standards were only one direction. You would receive messages, and in the case of HL7 v2 would be text delimited files or messages, TCP messages that you would communicate in the walls of the hospital. The HL7 v3 incorporated more the communication between hospitals as well, but it's still not matching all the needs that the healthcare industry has. And because of this, FHIR was created. FHIR taking in consideration payers, patient, and other areas that we know that is important to provide a better user patient interface, patient experience. And what we have seen is that HL7 v2, HL7 v3, and FHIR was supposed to be playing well together. But recently, what we see is that the new development is going more on FHIR. Doesn't mean that the HL7 v2 and v3 is not going to be is not going to have any space, but we know that the future is residing on how FHIR is going to interact. So, Mitchell, what we are doing to help in this case?
Right, so as you said, Regilo, FHIR is going to be the future of healthcare interoperability, specifically with our data and how that's transmitted and how we interact with it. So what InterSystems is doing is we're building a couple of cloud services, or cloud native services, to help with this. So it's a two-pronged problem. Mm-hmm. The first is, how do you transform your old non-FHIR standard data to the new FHIR standard data? That's very important to be able to interact with the new standard. And then the part two of that is, how are you going to store that data? You need some type of service that holds your data, that you can interact with it, that presents an API with that data, and that's our FHIR Accelerator service. So what we're doing is we're building cloud-based services, right now only in AWS, but planning to continue to Google Cloud Platform and Azure. We're building cloud-native services to help solve those problems of how to transform your data to FHIR and then to how to host that data as well so you can interact with it.
I like the way they divide it. It's kind of bridging the legacy standards to FHIR and how to really use FHIR. So can we talk a little bit about the transformation itself?
Sure. So the FHIR Message Transformation Service is the service that converts non-FHIR data to FHIR. Mm-hmm. At its core, it's just a service that we host in a cloud-based, container-based service. On those containers is an actual InterSystems product that does a transformation of non-FHIR data to FHIR data. Okay. How it works is you put data into an S3 bucket, and then that's converted to FHIR data in our container-based services. And what's important to you as a consumer is because we're container-based and cloud-based, there's a lot of auto-scaling that's happening in the background for you. So it doesn't matter if you're trying to convert a gigabyte of data or a couple hundred gigabytes of data, you're going to see the same performance. And then after that data has been transformed to FHIR, what you're going to see is a couple of different options of where to put that data. So we don't want you to be locked into the InterSystems ecosystem. We want to empower you as a developer to do what you want to do with your data. So if that means owning those flat files of FHIR data so you can do with them as you please, that's an option. You can just send that data to S3, or you can integrate with the AWS HealthLake service, so that transformed data will go directly to AWS HealthLake, or you can choose to interact with our InterSystems FHIR Accelerator service project. So we can go directly into our InterSystems API, and then there you can interact with the data from our own product. So
I'm going to stop there because I think I need to give a big shout saying that Amazon HealthLake has been a great partner of ours, and I really appreciate the partnership that we are having.
Mm-hmm. Yep, definitely. But For now, let's go ahead and give a demo of the FHIR Master Transformation Service.
Okay.
So after you log into the Transformation Service, what you're going to see is all of your pipelines. As you can see, I developed quite a bit, so I have dozens of pipelines already built.
Yeah,
but
I can see a lot.
What I want to show you is how to create a new pipeline and show you how simple it is. That's the important part right here.
Okay. So how that works there?
So we'll go ahead and click this new transformation pipeline button over here, and then this will begin the process of creating a new pipeline.
Okay.
So the first thing you're going to do is just give your pipeline a name. It doesn't really matter what it is, something to signify to you that you know what it is.
Something meaningful?
Yep. And then from there, you're going to see the transformation type. Right now, we only support HL7 v2 and CCDA, but we're planning to expand those to other formats as we build out our service.
Yeah, these are the two most used today, so it's okay.
And then from our input properties, so you're going to see it needs credentials. You're going to store your data in S3. We need credentials to the S3 bucket to be able to transform that data. So you would input those credentials right here. And then from the dropdown, you would pick the credentials you just created. And then
a lot of credentials again.
Yeah, I know, right? And then we would pick the S3 bucket input location right here. And that's all you need for your input. And you're all set there. And then from there, you'd pick your target output. So as you can see before, the current selected target type is Amazon S3 bucket. Like I said, you can just send these directly to S3 bucket as flat files, and you can do what you want with those.
Cool.
Or you can do Amazon Health Lake, like I alluded to earlier. That's direct integration with Amazon Health Lake. Or if you want to do the FHIR Accelerator service, that would be your third option. And that's our own InterSystems-based product that I'll show you here in a couple minutes. But what's important to note right here is that it only takes two parameters, the API key and the API key endpoint, and those will be more clear when you see the demo of the FHIR Accelerator service. But the goal I'm trying to get across here is it's incredibly simple to set up a pipeline that allows you to transform non-FHIR data to FHIR data. And once you set up this pipeline, it's a one-stop shop. Once you've set it up, any new data that enters your S3 bucket that you've configured, it'll be automatically transformed for you and sent to where you've designated.
Yeah, that sounds pretty easy and bring a lot of value to our customers. And you can definitely start using FHIR after that. But okay, I know now how to transform. I know that you can send to different endpoints and different destinations. And where I'm going to store now.
Right, so this is where the InterSystems FHIR Accelerator service comes in. This is a more traditional EC2 instance-based service. At its core, it's EC2 instances, and inside those instances is our InterSystems core product. That's InterSystems FHIR, and that's the meat of what FHIR is. But around that, we have a whole lot of accoutrement of all the AWS integrated services. And if you want to watch another presentation, we have a really deep dive into that architecture. But the basic overview is we integrate a lot of AWS services like Route 53 and Certificate Manager to make sure you have secure traffic. We integrate AWS Backup to make sure you can do backups and restores. We do auto-scaling to make sure that you can have the service scale for you. We do mirroring so that you have a highly available cluster. So all these integrated native AWS services are built into the FHIR Accelerator service. So you don't just have an API, you have a fully managed set of services that allow you to have a pretty advanced API, and it's incredibly easy to manage from a developer point of view. It's really easy to interact with. And that's what I want to show you next is a quick demo of the FHIR Accelerator service so you can see all of the services that are integrated with it.
Okay, I see this screen before.
Cool. Yep, so we'll go ahead and log in right here. This is the portal where the FHIR Accelerator service lives. And when you first log in, you're going to see the deployments that you currently have. I have one out right here already, baked for you, but I want to go ahead and go through the create process so you can see how easy it is to create your own service. So what you first see is the different sizes you can use for a service. Everyone knows that nowadays it's not a one-size-fits-all. You want to have larger deployments for maybe production instances or smaller deployments for dev instances. And because of that, you don't want to pay more for dev instances than you need to. So
yeah, it's very hard to plan everything ahead.
Exactly. So we give you the option to change the size of your deployment, and then you don't have to worry about being locked into that size. You can also change the size of your deployment after the fact if you decide you need more or less resources.
Cool, I like that.
And then in addition to that, we have highly available deployments. So that means if you're in a production, we mirror your instances so you have high availability. And then from here, you would go ahead and pick your region. So right now we support 3 regions, the 2 US East regions, and then EU West 2, which is in London. And we plan to support more regions. Those are 3 we have right now, but we're quickly building out the new region capabilities. And that's really it. That's all it takes to create a deployment. It would take about 5 or 6 minutes to create one, but for your time and my time, I already have one baked in the oven. And we'll go ahead and take a look at that.
Really cool.
So in our overview page, you'll see a lot of the information that you've seen that we selected when we created. So, the size of it, if it's status, if the service is running, all the metadata about, the cores of the RAM. And then more importantly, what you'll see is the ability to stop a deployment. So being cloud-based, you don't want to pay for things you're not using. So if you have a dev instance, it's this simple. You just enter stop and then click stop, and then your deployment shut off, and you don't have to pay for the compute that you're using with this service. I don't want to do that because I want to show you the deployment, but take note, that's as simple as it is if you want to save money. And as part of an API, you want to authenticate against it. So I'm going to go over the how to authenticate against the service. In a production instance, you would probably integrate OAuth 2, and as you can see, we have all of the major OAuth 2 providers that are able to integrate with the service. We see Okta as a really popular one. I'm not going to do that here. It's a little heavy-handed for a demo, but I am going to show you how to authenticate against the API with credentials, with API keys. So
tying up back to the HealthShare Master
exactly.
Service.
So if you remember from before, when the HealthShare Master Transformation Service needed an API key, this is where you'd create one. You'd go to create an API key. You'd give it a name, but important to note, in the background you can see there's delete buttons. So if you don't want a key anymore, it's been compromised, or you just don't need it anymore, you can go ahead and delete it. So we have key management as well. So we'll go ahead and give this key a name, and then this goes on to AWS, creates a new key, gives it back to us, and then you can copy it, and then bam, you have an API key immediately that you can use to authenticate against the FHIR Accelerator service.
Very easy.
I'm going to show you how to do that in the API development page.
So
for those developers who are familiar with Swagger, this will look incredibly familiar. This is just embedded Swagger, and within the Swagger, we have all of the resources that are available for a FHIR Accelerator service that you would expect.
All the resources that are available for the FHIR.
And you'll see right there, we just pasted the API key that we created, and then bam, immediately we can start playing with our service. The whole point of this is that we wanted to make a service that was out of the box, ready to use, so you as a developer can play with this immediately. And what you'll see happening right now is we're going to create a new patient called Donald Duck, and it's that simple. We just created a new Donald Duck. This deployment is just a few minutes old, and we're already playing with it with credentials that we've created.
Really cool. That was very popular in the Hack MIT that we participated a few weeks ago.
So
that is great.
Super simple. You can see all the other endpoints you can hit on the patient resource, and it's like that for every other resource on the FHIR Accelerator service. And then from an observability standpoint, you can see all the traffic that's hitting it. So you can see the post that we just hit on the service. It's right there in the access logs. But then a little more importantly is your data management. So right here you can get a high-level overview of the amount of data you have in the service. Right now you see there's 7,500 resources. You might notice that this, we didn't really put that much data into the service. We build our service with, Cynthia-generated data to begin with, so you can, play around with the data.
Quick start. Yeah.
But if you want to delete this because it's a production instance or something, you can go ahead and delete with that dialog that just came up. So that easy. But then what happens if you want to upload your own data? There's a few ways you could do it. One is the HealthShare Message Transformation Service that you just saw. But others, you can upload bundles directly from the web interface. So if you have bundles laying around on your desktop, you can't see it here, but I'm selecting a file on my desktop, and you just upload it, and then bam, once it's uploaded, it's that simple. You can import it into your service.
Okay, very easy.
But let's say you don't have your own data and you want to play around with the service anyways. We have example scenarios of data to upload. So for example, the pandemic is happening right now, and a popular data set you might want to use is COVID-19. So we could go over to our example data sets and select COVID-19, and we could upload that scenario.
Yeah, I know that now a lot of people are interested in this kind of data, and having some synthetic data that is going to allow you to start kicking your tires. It's really good.
Yep. So that would be an easy way to do that, and then immediately you have over 50 bundles and dozens of megabytes of data of COVID-specific data that you could play with out of the box to get familiar with the service.
Really nice.
It's that simple. So moving on, we have our resources as part of this service. We know that scalability is key. We know that when you're developing, resources change. You need more compute. You need more storage. So this is where you do that in the resources page. So for example, if you're running a production workload and you need a little more juice, you just go here and give it more compute. It's really that simple. You'd select the new size and click resize, and then vice versa. If you don't need that anymore, you could just
weekends I don't need it anymore.
Exactly. You could reduce that and no problem. And then same with storage. Say you're running low on storage, we go ahead. You can just shift that slider as big as you want it, and then bam, you have a few hundred gigabytes extra of storage available to you.
Giving me a lot of control what I'm going to spend my money.
Exactly. The idea is that as a developer, I know it's hard to manage data, so we abstract all of that hard nitty-gritty details for you, so it's just the click of a button that you can manage your resources.
Cool.
And same with backups. If you wanted to do a backup, you would just create one right here, and if you had one created, you could restore from it. It's one button operations to do all of the hard nitty-gritty details you need to manage a service.
Great. And what is that?
So this is our package manager. For those that aren't familiar with FHIR packages are specific FHIR resources that don't come out of the box. For example, if you're in the UK, you might have different FHIR resources compared to the USA. So we have
is about a lot of customization. So
exactly,
well done.
So we have UK cord integrated from the creation of a deployment. But if you wanted a Danish package, and if there was a Danish package, you could search on that and pull it up and install it right here.
Ah, okay. That sounds very easy.
Yep. So we're integrating with a service called Simplify to do this. But again, the point is we're making this as simple as possible to build upon the service as soon as you make it. So within 10 minutes of creating this deployment, you can add different FHIR resources from across the world. So that's the FHIR Accelerator service. The gist that I want you to get from this is that within 5 minutes, you can have a FHIR API. You can send data to that from FHIR Message Transformation Service. You can resize it. You can do all of this management stuff within minutes of doing it and authenticate against it with just a few clicks of the button. It's really that simple to start your FHIR journey if you wanted to build a FHIR API.
Oh, that sounds very impressive. So we can transform and we can store the data and we can use that together or individually. So do you think that for the people attending this session here, they have all the tools necessary to start playing with FHIR?
I do. And I want to reiterate that the path to FHIR, it's imminent. It's going to be the future of FHIR, healthcare interoperability. That's where the future is going. And like I said, there's a couple problems that happens with that, which is how to transform old data to FHIR and then how to host that data. And FHIR Message Transformation Service is a really good way to transform old non-FHIR data to FHIR. And then to use that data in an API, the FHIR Accelerator service is a great service to begin your journey and solve those problems so you can start your FHIR journey with a really solid platform.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. And I hope that you enjoy our session. I appreciate your time. See you next time.
Thank you.